Welcome back. We have an official statement from Raid Shadow Legends of why we're getting Cleopatrix as our login reward. After 271 days, we have a normal 30-day login reward. We get fragments of Cleopatrix. After 4 months, we get to fuse her. And the reason is, in this new article, they're telling us that we're going to get a whole bunch of new Hex champions. That it's all going to be Hex-based, and we're going to need these. To me, I feel like Hex is kind of one of those... We can already do it with other champions. We don't really need to work on trying to put that Hex requirement up. But if they're going to make new content to where it's required and they're already giving us all the requirements for it, then I guess it's okay. It's better than nothing. But I still think that going back and fixing bombs, because bomb champions aren't used anywhere in this game. If we went back and, because I want War Mother to be amazing. I want her to be top tier and used everywhere. But we're going to get Hex. Within here, they say the 271 days afterwards, they're doing this because they want to keep in line with giving us champions in the game and not relying on RNG. So they're saying that they didn't give us the Sacred anymore because they don't want to rely on RNG, but there's so many good epic champions in this game that Sacred is actually really strong. So now they're giving us a guaranteed legendary champion. They state that Cleopatrix is one of the few champions that have a Hex debuff, and they're going to bring us more champions with Hex debuff as our login reward, and then they're going to synergize together for future content. We don't know what that future content is yet. At the end of the article, they say, obviously, we realize this is an unpopular decision, but they want to stick to their vision. So let's take Cleopatrix, Rule, Thea the Tomb Angel, and compare them to other champions that can do what they do, but without the requirement of having up Hex. Cleopatrix is actually a sweet looking champion, first off, right? But she does do some good moves. She gives accuracy to herself, and she's going to attack everyone, puts up that Hex debuff, and then places a fear. She's got good multipliers at 3.7 on this AoE. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but we're putting Hex up for 3 turns, and if they already have a Hex up, she's going to fear them. So if we brought Rule in here, because pretty much you can just already give up on Thea the Tomb Angel. Unless they buff Thea the Tomb Angel, I don't see anywhere in the game we're going to need to use her unless they just make it to where Hex is involved. And even then, I don't think we need to bring Thea in. We just bring in Rule and Cleopatrix and we're good to go. After she does her A3, gives herself that increased accuracy, applies Hex on everyone out there while doing damage, she's going to come back around on her A2 and attack everyone then, and then block active skills for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, which is really strong. They can't do anything but their A1. We blocked all their active skills. This is a strong thing that also these other champions that you can see up here have the ability to do. And then on her A1, if she kills somebody, then she gets a Perfect Veil buff on herself, which really, if you're a legendary champion and you're killing someone, getting the killing blow, you should be able to go into Perfect Veil for 1 turn just as a legendary champion. There should be no requirement to have Hex debuff up on the enemy. Plus, we're not getting additional damage from the Hex debuff on that A1. So it's a little bit weird with that. And that's the real problem, right? That we're applying a Hex debuff and it's supposed to make our champions so much stronger, but in the end, it really doesn't because there's so many champions out here who can deal damage in the game now and who apply really good debuffs. Rule is actually probably the best. He's the best Hex person we've got. He gives increased accuracy to your total team. He puts up the Hex debuff, and then he gets a 50% turn meter increase on his A3, so he can loop back around and do his A2 AoE mass damage. Because then he's going to hit twice and ignore defense if there's enough of them out there, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown. And it's really strong. And then his A1 can decrease defense. Transfers a random debuff from this champion if the target is under Hex. Another thing that a legendary champion doesn't need to have. They don't need to be under Hex for him to transfer a random debuff. That's pretty lame, but they're trying to make it work, right? So really all we need is Rule, because Thea just does not have any play in this game. We don't need her. There's too long of a cooldown. You need to have a lot of other minions out there. If you're fighting a boss, they need to have ads to make this skill effective. And then it's on a 5-turn cooldown. We can lower her other A3 that gives her an additional turn from her A1. If we get each critical hit decreases the cooldown of that, this will give her a buff and then also an additional turn, which can then lower the cooldown on the A2, but it's not that effective, right? It's not that great. So the biggest thing about Cleopatrix is we have a 3-turn cooldown. If there's a Hex up, we can block active skills for 2 turns. That's strong. So we can cycle through that. Plus she's getting an accuracy buff. So if she has 200 accuracy going through normal dungeons, then with the accuracy buff, we'll have 300 accuracy to go through Doom Tower or anything else to where we need higher accuracy. So that's good to have. But Rule will give everybody on the team increase accuracy of 50%, and then he'll do his damage. No block active skills, but the damage. Countess Licks will attack all enemies, block skill cooldowns for 2 turns on a 5-turn cooldown, plus lower the skill of all her allies by 1 turn, and then she does 3 hits, which will put a slow speed up and decrease turn meter on them. A really strong champion, plus she'll do the A1 weaken, just like Cleopatrix will. Then we've got Lugan the Steadfast, where he'll attack all enemies on a 4-turn cooldown and block their active skills for 2 turns, no requirement at all, and a really good support champion. Bysthophis, not really used. He can do it too, so we'll just brush over him. But Bellower, a rare on his A1 that does AoE, has a 30% chance to block all active skills for 1 turn, and Master Hexer can increase this to 2 turns. To block them out for 2 turns, and this is all on his A1. You've seen me play Bellower for years and years. Such a powerful rare champion. So they don't require that to have the Hex up to do well. And then over here with Rule, yes, he hits really hard if you have the Hex debuff up. We do have so many hard-hitting champions in this game. Herndig, Trunda, if you don't want to use some of the top legendaries, we have Magnar now. Magnar as an HP-based champion will hit really hard because he hits 2 times on this A2. And it's very unlikely that you're bringing in HP burn so that he only hits 1 time. He's going to hit 2 times on this A2 to do a mass amount of damage that we would normally get from Rule here. Yeah, we're not getting the increased accuracy to our team, but we're not having to worry about getting a Hex debuff up to make these champions shine. All in all, I feel like they're making more champions that are going to be like bomb champions down the road. Obviously, if they're not performing well, something like Thea the Tomb Angel, I'm sure they're going to buff her, or they're going to make it so that the game will want to play her. They're going to force it to want to play her. Be like, yeah, Hex is Hex, but you got to use Hex on this boss, otherwise you can't kill this boss. So then they're going to force you to do Hex, and then we're going to have a reason to play Hex, which I don't necessarily mind, but why can't we do that with bomb champions right now? Let's get bomb champions and give them the love they deserve so that we can use all those bomb champions that we've collected over the years, and then we can enjoy playing those bomb champions, and we'll see what happens with Hex. You guys let me know your ideas and your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you all in a video soon.